Hello and welcome to Trails, Tales and Fails, the podcast where we dig into the highs, lows and unfiltered realities of ultra running. Today's guest is a household name in the world of ultra running photography. When lockdown hit, David Miller picked up a camera and in doing so discovered that his passion for running, something he's done for the last 12 years, was matched by a talent for capturing the emotion, struggle and humanity of the sport. A runner in his own right, David has completed races like the ARC50, UTMB MCC, and most recently, the technical UTMB Istria 42k in an impressive 5 hours and 13 minutes. But it's his work behind the lens that's made him one of the most respected visual storytellers in ultra running. His photo of Mathieu Blanchard lying exhausted at the UTMB finish line won the 2023 British Photography Awards People's Choice Prize. His recent image of Jasmin Paris at the Barkley Marathons, slumped beneath the famous Yellow Gate, has already been hailed as one of the greatest ultra running photos of all time. That moment became the cover of his first photo book, Do Not Blockade, which hit number 1 on the Amazon's photography chart. In today's conversation, we talk about David's experience at the Barkley Marathons and UTMB. We discuss what he's looking for in a good photo, and we find out his celebrity paces, guilty pleasure, and we play the usual game of truth or lie. Now, David has generously given us a signed copy of his book that we'll be giving away on our Instagram page. To enter, you'll need to head over to Instagram, go to Trails, Tales and Fails, and tag in the comments people who might want to enter. This episode will be going out on Monday the 5th of May, and we'll be running this competition until Sunday the 11th of May. This item will only be being posted to the UK. If you like the pod, please share on socials and leave us a star review as it helps us reach more listeners. Enjoy. David, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on the pod. I'm really looking forward to this one. I say this every single time we have a guest on, but I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be epic.
So yeah, thank you. And we're going to kick it off with our little usual starter. So are you ready?
Yes, all good.
Okay. So if you could pick anyone in the world, dead or alive, to pace you through the final miles of a brutal race like the ARC or UTMB, who are you choosing and why?
Can I pick the Arc of Attrition? Can we say that race?
Yeah, that race. That one done.
Yeah, well, I'm going to pick Chris Martin from Coldplay so I can kick him off the cliff. Right at the end of it.
Fantastic answer. I love it.
No, the God's honest truth. Yeah, Courtney DeWalter. Yeah, I love her. Brilliant.
Have you met her?
Yeah, I've met Courtney once, actually. I photographed her a couple of times, but met her once for like 2 minutes. And yeah, I was like shivering, to be honest. I had proper stage fright. And she's the only person in the world who's ever done that. Well, I was afraid, really, just because she's like a superstar.
And she'd be able to like chat. Like I reckon she could be good chat on the trails.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at this time, she won UTMB in 2023. And I was at the media centre where she was getting interviewed. So it was literally just a very, very quick chat because she had other media duties. She's very busy.
Oh, good.
Oh,
I thought you were actually being serious about Chris Martin, and I was going to say, oh my God, that's the second one we've had for Chris Martin. And then you're like, yeah, so I can just give him a shoe straight over the cliff. Boom.
Oh, disappointing. I'm not sure you'd like my soundtracks on a run then.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So we're kicking Chris Martin off a cliff and we're going with Courtney. Fantastic. So second question we usually ask everybody is guilty pleasures during races. Question is, what's your most unexpected mid-race or post-race indulgence, either as a runner or while you're out photographing, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, as a runner, I'm actually quite dialed. I would stick on the precision hydration or the precision fuel because I get quite upset stomach when I run, so I can't have anything too solid. So I'd literally be boring and stay on the drink mix and the gels. But yeah, as a photographer, I think anything, to be honest. And yeah, I keep soft mints in my pocket and I have quite a lot of them out on the trails for sure. But I think as media, I think we could all relate to this. We just forget to eat and drink, and there comes a time where like 4 or 5 hours passes, and we're not feeling particularly well, and it's because of that reason, because we're dehydrated, and we're so focused on what we're doing, we forget the basics. Well, I do anyway.
Yeah,
I can imagine that's really easily done. Like, I would imagine you're always having to be focused about the next person to come around the corner, or making sure that you're in the right position to try and capture the picture that you want to. I would imagine it's pretty easy. And if you've got like a stream of constant people coming through, like on a really busy race, you're not going to be like, oh, I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna down tools for 15 minutes and just tuck into my packed lunchbox.
Yeah, I mean, quite often we're hiking to these remote places as well. And as a good example, during the TDS last year out at UTMB, I took a photograph which has got like an arch rockway, a silhouette. You might have seen it. So it's like a black cliff with like a runner coming through, like a hole type of thing. And I was there 2 hours taking that one shot, waiting for the right composition, and just waiting for the right runner. And during that time, I'm on the floor, and you're not eating or drinking.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. Yeah, because you probably got something in your mind, and you're just like, I really need this sandwich. It's 12 runners coming up the mountain.
Exactly that. Yeah, you don't want to miss a moment.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to unpicking that a little bit more as this interview goes on, this chat goes on. So obviously you are famous for being an incredible photographer in the ultra running world, which we'll touch on. And Sarah's just pointing, for those that can't see, to the do not block gate picture that we've.
No, Jasmin.
Oh yeah, no, we had the do not block gate, and then we gave it to.
I nicked the do not block,
and then we gave it to Rob. So we got the Jasmin picture. But obviously you've done several ultras, so you're like a runner in your own right. So do you mind just filling us in on what your journey into running looked like? Is it something that you've always done, you did from a young age? Did you come into it later in life?
Yeah, so it must have been about 12 years ago. My son got really ill and went into intensive care at Southampton Hospital. And when he recovered, the team were looking for like a team of runners really to do the Great South Run in Portsmouth, which is 10 miles. At the time, I was quite unhealthy, a bit overweight, like many of us when we start running. And literally from that, I just got the bug and just carried on from there and went through the motions of 5k, 10k, 10 miles, half marathon, and into ultra running.
So were you sporty at school as you were growing up, or literally...
A little bit of football, but no, not really. No, I wasn't. I'm not the most naturally talented at sport, I've got to say. Even at running, I've got to try very, very hard, and some people just make it look easy, like Sarah. Yeah.
I'm not sure I meant look easy across the bridge on the North Downs Way.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you looked like you had the face like you were going to win it, and you went on and did win it. So
I can assure you, taking over from pacing duties with 20 miles left, there was nothing easy about it.
Let's crack on.
Were you on the bridge as well?
No, that's Phil.
Another list runner. So yeah.
So you completed events like the MCC, UTMB, ARC50, and most recently you did the 42k Istria.
Yeah.
What, for me, looking at some of your times and your results, it looks like there's been quite a big jump in what you're capable of, like running times wise, because like Istria, you did it in just over 5 hours, I think it was, and you came like top 200.
Yeah.
Have you like up leveled your running game over the last few years? Because it looks like that's happened.
Definitely. I mean, I'm from Weymouth in Dorset, and I'm in the right crowd. So we've got like a team called the South Coast Sharks, and they're quite high level triathletes, to be honest. And I run with them a couple of times a week. But my girlfriend Jodie, she's a sports physio. She's hot on the nutrition, and Istria in particular. I wanted to go there and enjoy it, but also put in a good performance. I'd done quite a few sauna sessions before, to be honest with you, so I could cope with the heat, and it all helped. But again, like I mentioned earlier, the only thing I suffered on was the fronts of my quads, because I haven't been doing enough downhill running. But overall, I was really happy with the nutrition, the gear, And the mindset, more importantly, my mindset was like, I'm really enjoying this. I paid to be here. This is brilliant. You know?
Yeah, and that's so important, to take the enjoyment and the buzz from it, from the adventures.
Yeah.
I think that's. So on the sort of running front, are you training for anything at the moment since you come back from Istria, or does your photography calendar tend to dictate the race schedule?
Yeah, my calendar's quite quiet this year at the moment, but I've done that purposely. It's more so if the right thing comes up, I'll take it, and if it excites me. But at the moment, I'm doing 50-50 photography and running, so I've got a couple of races lined up. One of them's like a local 10K, where I want to try and go sub 40 again, and I'm doing the ARC50 in January.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah, I've managed to get Lewis to coach me, like the winner, like Lewis Ferguson.
Okay.
So
Amazing.
he won the ARC50 and the ARC100, and he's going to coach me for a few months for the ARC50, just to see if I can like up my level again and knock a few hours off last time.
Is he local to you, or is he it's all remote and stuff?
No, he's just someone I know in the trail running community. You snap him a few times and you get linked together on Instagram, like yourself, really.
Yeah.
I just asked him if he could coach me, so he said he would. So I'm really happy with that.
Oh, amazing!
Awesome.
So yeah, you've seen both sides of UTMB now, as a photographer and as a runner. So which would you say is?
I'm laughing because I don't even ask.
Well, oh right, I thought I mentioned he was a runner, and you started laughing.
Yeah.
So yeah, which would you say is obviously more difficult? And sorry, she's throwing me off now. Massively throwing me off. Which is harder, running the course or trying to capture the intensity with the camera?
Yeah, if I'm being honest with you, every time I go to UTMB, I say the day afterwards that I'm not going to be returning, just because it's just a very, very heavy week. It's like Disneyland, it's like Glastonbury, and I love it when I'm there. But as the week goes on, it just becomes very, very tiring. And I think as a photographer there, the competition is rife. There's maybe 50 to 100 media on the finish, and you put everything into going there. And you just deep thinking the whole week, and actually I think as media it's a lot more tiring than running, but you're just trying to sort of outdo yourself all the time out there and get the shots you want to, because it's such a beautiful landscape. And I guess sometimes we peel into the pressure and just want to keep delivering just to make people happy, really.
Do you cover all of the races throughout the week, or are you just sort of focused on one in particular, just sort of following it as and where you can, or are you sort of just jumping between wherever runners may be at a location near you?
Yeah, so if I'm going to go during the week, I would always use the actual UTMB as like the A race, but then I might go out on the TDS course, and then I might come back and do like the OCC finish, and then everything in between. But it's impossible to cover like the CCC and UTMB just because they clash, don't they?
Yeah.
But as a rule, I want to get these elite runners during UTMB. I want to capture Killian and Courtney and Matthew Blanchard. But then it's just as important to me to come to the back of the field and go to places like Notre Dame de la Gorge and get the tail runners and get the people at the checkpoints. And I think it tells the whole story rather than just the polished elites.
Yeah, that's really special and very important as well.
Yeah,
I think it helps the community, like everybody in the community, feel valued as well. If you go to a race and you go through the same cost, the same training, the same pain, but for whatever reason you're running it slower, I think if you're not, if you're in one photo, whereas like maybe the top 10 are in like 15 or 20, that is, and I know that's difficult though as a photographer to actually be able to get that balance, I'm guessing. But yeah, I guess it's important to make the whole community feel included.
I think one of the key things for me, and I sort of mentioned this on a few podcasts. Actually, I can't tell you now because it's one of the questions. But I don't feel the pressure on that front. As in, there's no pressure for me to capture an elite the whole way round. It's very much I've got like a bit of a safety blanket where I can travel the whole race and go back and forth. But it's because I want to, like, more importantly. I want to capture the whole story rather than just the elites or just the tail runners.
So logistically, do you plan for that? Do you sit down and you go like, obviously, these are the points in advance, And will you be like, well, I'll cover this area at this time and this area at this time, and then I'll go back 30 miles to cover this area for another 3 hours? Or do you sometimes, as it gets further into a race, sort of go with a little bit more with how you feel it's all going?
Exactly that. So it's all very calculated, but quite often it can be too calculated, and you go to a location that won't quite work out. And then I think to myself, well, I like capturing people. I like capturing the emotion. So then I'll drop back to a checkpoint where I know I'll get something I like. But sometimes on the trails, getting the landscape sort of images, they are quite risky because you could spend 2 hours hiking to a location, but then at the checkpoints you're having a bit of a free for all because me personally, I find it easier to get those images, but quite often those images do better and people can relate to them more.
Yeah. Okay. So you're obviously a runner and a photographer. Does your experience as a runner shape how you approach your photography at events?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I think like again with the checkpoints and stuff, I know what the runners are going through. So the sort of normal highs and lows. Yeah, I get it, and it almost gives me a bit of an inkling of where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be quite useful to know, like the halfway point or something like that, to know how that person's feeling when they get there, especially if you've seen them prior struggling in the race somewhere, and that sort of elated emotion when they finally get somewhere where they can rest or even the finish line. So
yeah, sometimes when you're like new to a race or you go to a new race or a new location, it's harder. But I tend to do like a little bit of research before, and I might go on Instagram and look at other people's pictures, not necessarily running pictures, but landscape, just to see sort of what's going on. And I think with ultra running, you're almost guaranteed mile 75 to see a lot of bodies in the checkpoint, so you'll go and have a little look there.
And is it sort of an unwritten, not so much yourself, but is it an unwritten rule that most photographers seem to be set up on a very steep hill at mile 70? Is that just sort of an unwritten rule that we're just looking for as much pain as possible in the face of ultra runners coming up the hill?
That's such a good question. When I started out photography, I always used to look for a hill. I'm going to sit at the top of it, and it's just, I think a lot of it is you get more time to set up that image because people are coming up slower. You've got a better chance of getting something good. But if I'm honest, I'm taking a lot of my images nowadays from like behind a runner and also like the side. And I think they can come out more interesting. Whereas I think a company like Sportograph, which is great, by the way, if you go and run one of these UTMB races or London Marathon, you're guaranteed a photo. But one thing I'm very clear on with the directors is, I can't guarantee every runner a photo. I just want to capture what the race is in the atmosphere, the highs and lows, everything in between. And I just think, if you get a good picture, great. If you don't, it's, it almost feels like hard luck,
Yeah, exactly.
So moving on to the photographer stage, and we are all excited to chat to you about this. So we're going to talk Barkley. Does Laz invite you, and how does the whole thing work? And are you allowed to share it? Is it a secret?
Yeah, I can share like a couple of bits for sure. Yeah, I mean, unlike you guys, I'm sure you've sat down one evening and watched, The Race That Eats Its Young on Netflix, or you might have been cool enough to have the DVD before that. And I always watched that race and thought, this is the race I want to photograph. This is the race that would suit me the most. And I had to jump through many hoops to get there in 2023 because I obviously shot last year where Jasmin finished, and then 2023 the year before that. And it was 2023, that was the year where I learned the ropes and had to jump through the hoops to get there. But last year was a much easier process because I've done it once before. But yeah, the answer to your question, did Az ask me? No. No.
Oh. And we're all left wondering. I mean, yeah.
There's no and a full stop.
Well, so you don't need to answer what the process is, and you can just say, no comment. Is it an unconventional process to try and get there, similar to what the runners have to go through?
Yeah. What I'd say is the media process is different than the runners process. Yeah, for sure. This year it could have been easier. I obviously didn't go, but they did sort of say it's a shame you're not coming back. But I just didn't feel the drive to, After doing the book, I just thought it just won't be the same.
Yeah. And congratulations on your book. It's absolutely stunning.
So thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
So what is Barclays is becoming a big thing, and it is a big thing, and I think becoming more people are becoming more aware of it. I feel the media. What is the Barclays experience like from your perspective, or can you share any points of how the experience was for the 2 years you were out there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I went in 2023, and it was like a new world, really. But one thing I'd say is that you're welcomed as part of the Barkley community and part of the family.
Yeah.
You've obviously got the 40 runners. You've got Laz and a few of his cronies there, like the Barkley diehards, and you've got like one crew member, and you all chat. You stand together. You have a barbecue together, and it just feels like a very tight knit community. But my experience there was just in 2023, I felt like I grew some wings. I went out there on my own, slept in the back of a Subaru, lived off Velveeta's, and just felt like I was enhancing my craft. I was enhancing myself as a photographer and learning. And that in that year in particular, Alexis Berg was there. He's like the French photographer. Amazing. He's the GOAT. And the American photographer, Howie Stern. So they took me under their wing and sort of showed me the ropes out there and how it worked.
Amazing. That's cool. Amazing. You said it's quite a risk to go out. Was it quite a risk for you in your career because it's not a cheap trip to sort of get out there and stuff. So did you feel like it was like, let's just go for it? Like, that's brave.
Yeah. I just felt like a natural drive to go and shoot the Barkley, and I knew based on the other events I'd covered, it would be the event that would suit me the most because it's a lot slower paced. And when the runners are coming up Ratjaw, which is the only location you're allowed out on the course, is media or crew. You've got a lot of time to set up your shots, and you can just think about what you're doing. And obviously, everything that happens in the camp and at the gate, it just unfolds in front of you, so you can just capture what you can. And to me, that's no different than a checkpoint at the North Downs or the ARC. I feel like I've done that before, so I was just doing it again out the Barkley.
Yeah. So speaking about events that are unfolding at the gate, obviously your image of Jasmin Paris went viral and is pretty iconic now in the ultra running world.
On the wall, yeah.
On the wall, exactly. So we just wanted to ask sort of how that moment unfolded for you, really, as it was happening.
Yeah, it was such a weird one. I mean, last year, we obviously had the 5 finishers, including Jasmin. We knew there was going to be at least 4, so we come back to the gate and seen the 4th finisher. But when Jasmin passed the halfway point on lap 5, which was at Ratjaw where the fire tower is, mathematically, she shouldn't have been able to have done what she did. And the reason being is I was stood with a Barkley finisher and experts on the course, and they reckoned she was going to be about 7.5 hours. So we went back to the gate and we were ready to clap Jasmin in, just to finish lap 5. We knew she wasn't going to be an official finisher, but I was stood with Howie just chatting about something. Obviously, we were really tired at this point, and I think it was John Kelly's little girl at the bottom of the road. She shouted, "Oh, she's coming." And that filtered up through the side of the road, up through the crowd, up to the gate. And Laz sort of turned his head like this. And we were like, there's no way she is coming up now. Because this was 2.5 hours more faster than what we predicted.
Yeah.
Obviously, she come round the corner in a red missile top, firing up towards the gate. And we were all panicking with our cameras. It was very much like, whatever you've done before come into practice. But give or take sort of 10 seconds of her touching the gate, I was in position and ready and sort of predicted she was going to be on the floor, so I was on the floor as well.
Exactly. It was literally that close because I mean we did watch the documentary, the Jasmin documentary on it, and I think obviously difficult to calculate exactly, but there was a prediction that actually she would have run that second half of the last lap. She would have had to have run it quicker than the first lap that she did it in to be able to get back on time, which is absolutely mental. And I guess that's not a moment to be leaving the camera in the back of the Subaru. So it was literally 10 seconds beforehand, and you're like, right, I'm ready, down on the floor. Yeah. It must have just been like, and how do you, because obviously it's something which never happened before. So are you able to like balance the excitement and the emotion that would have been overcoming everybody, and then just be able to just focus and go into like absolute I need to shoot photograph mode? Because for me, I think I'd be so swept away in like, this is incredible, that I mean,
you wouldn't get the shot.
I wouldn't get the shot.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, the people who know me well, like in real life, I go into like a bit of a hyper focus when I'm in photography, particularly on the finish lines. And I think where I'd gone to UTMB 4 years previously, and I've been practicing over those 4 years at finish lines, getting the winners coming in, whether it's Courtney, Killian, Matthew Blanchard, like Jasmin coming in just felt like another one of those moments. And because of the practice of doing this, it was just very natural. But I kind of like block out all the noise. I'm sort of behind the lens and I'm in my own world and I'm ready. That's how I felt. Obviously, luckily there was no technical problems and there was no jigger in the photo. It come out really crisp and it was great. I was happy. But at the time, I didn't realise how big that was going to be, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
It sounds, absolutely like electric to have been there. But as Max was saying, I'd have just lost it. I think I'd have dropped the camera and just started shouting or running around.
Was there like a point where you suddenly realised, nailed it, this photo is going to mean something to a lot of people?
Definitely, literally. So 10 minutes after Jasmin finished, me and Howie Stern, do you know him, the American photographer?
No.
You would have seen his work. He's got like a big following. We ran down to the bridge at the bottom of Big Cove campsite, which is the only place you can get a signal. And we thought, right, the world needs to see this, because we live in that kind of age now where the world want things now. Because what good is it the next day seeing a picture of Jasmin finishing? The world's been following her on Twitter, like thousands of people. You want to see it now. So I very quickly scrolled through the camera, thought that was the best image. I had to think very, very quickly with, 2 days of no sleep as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the image that made the cut. It went on the Instagram. And if I'm being honest, I've never experienced anything like it. I never will again. But it just blew up for sure, like very quickly.
Yeah. It's difficult to think that there will be anything quite as iconic as that happening in the immediate future, because sure, there'll be another woman that will finish maybe next year or the year after, but it'll never be the first. And it's taken like, I don't know, 25 odd years for a first woman to finish. So to think of something as iconic as that happening any time in the near future, you just can't see it, can you?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. I think it's one of the greatest sporting performances of all time, and there's so many reasons for this. But where it's such a low key sport, it doesn't get the highlight like the Olympics would, or the football, or like the World Cup. But I think how can that moment be matched? Obviously, if there was another female finisher, absolutely brilliant. But they're not the first.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can see surpassing that is Courtney goes and wins UTMB outright.
Yeah.
Like, what else can be done?
Yeah.
I think those two are the biggest on the calendar for different reasons. One's Glastonbury, and one's very, very secretive and majestic, and it's got secrecy about it.
Yeah. Oh, so you obviously don't just shoot action. You obviously have to think about emotion, story. What are you looking for when you raise the camera? Like, obviously you don't have to give away trade secrets, but when you're there, you're going through what you want in your head. What are you thinking about?
I think I just want the complete picture, the complete story. So a good example is during UTMB 2023, I got some pictures out on the trails. I got start finish. I got the checkpoints, which is all very normal stuff. But as I was going through the pictures to put out a folder to UTMB and on my Instagram, there was something missing. And I was trying to figure out what it was. And, after sort of 15 minutes, I'm like, there's a bit of emotions missing from here. And luckily, the media centre wasn't far from the finish line. So I darted back down to the finish line with my camera. And within 5 minutes, caught this guy crying. I got a very, very close shot of his tear. And that was it. that's all I needed to finish the puzzle. And when you look at those pictures from UTMB in 23, you know, you can see it. It's just got like a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that's the secret for me, really. And I think that's what's defined my style. It's just, you know, no holding back. Just capture everything. You know, you don't have to put out the glossy images and the perfect images. Just put out the real images. So that's what people and brands now are relating to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So your book, if people were to purchase your book, where would they go to do that? Is it, where's your preferred place that people can go and purchase your book?
I think from the Vertebrate Publishing website. So they're the publishers based in Sheffield. They're independent. But failing that, I think on Amazon. But I did get told the other day that they're basically selling out these softbacks. I think there might be 50 left in the country, and then they need to make a decision whether they're going to reprint them or not, or whether that's it.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I had somebody crew me for the ARC just gone this January, and as just a little gift for him crewing me, I was like, "What do you want?" And he just said, "I want David's book." So ordered him the book, gave him the book, and he like absolutely loves it. So yeah, if you are thinking about getting it, it's well worth doing. It's awesome.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
So on the topic of the book, we were curious to know sort of what inspired you to turn that project into a book in the first place.
Yeah, very, very clear, really. So in 2023 in November, I picked up the People's Choice Sports Award at the British Photography Awards. And up to that point, I used a very intermediate level DSLR camera. So it was a Canon EOS 90D. And it's not quite entry level, but it's by no means pro. It can't shoot in the dark. It's very basic. And I thought at this point, right, we picked up this award. I need to up my game, but the only thing that's going to be able to do this is gear. I need the right gear to be able to shoot at night and show people what I want. So I went into the Leica store in Mayfair the next day, picked up a Leica Q2 monochrome camera, which is purely black and white. And the moment I held that was the moment I knew that camera was going to shoot the Barkley Marathons in 24. So I had to practice with that a lot, ready for the Barkley, but it just felt very right in that store. You know, that was the camera to do the job.
You're going to ask about black and white photos?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So do you take a lot of? Is that so? It's that specific camera that takes those ones, as in the.
Yeah, I don't have that camera anymore. I just felt like it come to the end of the line. But yeah, it was black and white specific, and they were shot in a photojournalism style. But one thing I noticed within sports photography and running photography, there's a lot of photography where you're zooming in on the runner and they are all shiny and glossy and great, but it was just missing this like raw edge. And I think this camera in particular gave me that edge. Not that I was any better or anything, just different, you know? I was just offering something different to the runners or the race organisers, and I think there's always a gap for that type of thing.
So, is there a photo? Say you take millions of photos, and through the Barkleys, I guess, is there a photo that didn't get the big attention, but to you personally, with your journey being out there, that means a lot to you?
That's a really good question. There's one I always look at. And it's probably my favourite to this day of Jack Scott going up Snowdonia at Ultra Trail Snowdonia, the 50k. You might have seen it. It's quite bluey and it's like he's just glancing back.
That's the one.
Yeah, the only reason being is because I hiked Snowdon, you know, to get to this hop, thinking there was going to be big panoramic views and it was going to be beautiful, but it was misty and pea soup, and that was the photo I caught up there. But I think it's his glance which makes it, to be honest.
What's he wearing? Because I might, in my head, I've got an image.
Like a blue top.
It's a blue top. I'm going to have a look. I might have a look
in your head.
Not very much. No, okay.
It's you, Rob.
So yeah, preparation for major events like UTMB and Barkleys. Is there a sort of a short list, or do you just sort of rely? I think we've kind of already covered this, but do you sort of rely on instinct on where to go?
Oh,
Yeah.
what? As in the location or the actual race I want to shoot?
Well, more like we've sort of already covered this. So yeah, I guess sort of. Are you looking for the more gritty races where
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm always looking to do something different. So last year I was choosing events like the 200-mile tunnel, you know, but I did that to sharpen up in the dark, ready for the Barkley, because I knew a lot of the Barkley was going to be in the dark.
Yeah.
And the way to do it is go and spend a day out in a dark tunnel with some crazy runners. It's bloody amazing.
Yeah.
And just sharpen up. But yeah, this year, to be honest, I can tell you this now. A few days ago, I was at Brixton Prison inside shooting 12 inmates running a half marathon.
Oh wow!
Is that with our friend Ali Bailey?
No.
Oh, I thought she'd been to. No.
Hang
on, is this an active prison with inmates running?
Yeah, Brixton in London, the prison. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I know there's like you say with the tunnel and things like that, it's getting quite popular now. Where I think there is actually a marathon where people will run inside of a prison, isn't there? But
backyards, there's backyards where people did.
Yeah.
There's a backyard in Dover, which is like a disused prison, but not an actual active prison.
I mean, this is like an active prison, but
That's
it's a one-off, and it's part of like a prison charity, some prison trust, and they put together a half marathon for 12 inmates to run, and I think they brought in another 20 runners from the London community to join them, but it was all very official, as in, you know, it had to go to the head of security, number 10, and even the photos now, I'm not allowed to show faces, locks, so I need to edit them in a way which is safe, and then once that gets the approval, I can then show you guys and show the world, and they're very, very cool. I'd say that.
That does sound very cool.
What's the half marathon?
Like inside the prison ground.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you sort of hear about that? Is this a very sort of a Johnny Cash sort of thing going on?
Yeah, I've got a mate who works for the Timing Monkey in Dorset. Do you know Matt from the Timing Monkey? Like Times events, yeah. Well, he said he was at Brixton, and I was like, "What are you doing there?" He's like, "Oh, a half marathon." And I just said to him, "Can you please put me in touch with the organizer?" But yeah, there had to be a lot of disclaimers and forms signed to be able to do this. But I was up London anyway, watching the boxing on Saturday. I watched Eubank Jr. and Ben, and that was amazing. And then shot London Marathon the next day just for a bit of fun.
What was the? I don't know if you can answer it, but it's obviously quite official with Timing Monkey and photographers. And like, what was the not to sound like why do that in a prison, but what was the purpose of it? Because it's not something that happens all the time. I wouldn't have thought.
No, I think it was just to give them something to train for, and obviously when they come out of prison and they do their time, you know, it might give them a bit of a jump to go and join like a running club and change their lives.
Yeah.
There was I can't remember his name. Is it Herman Grange? He's like an ex-inmate from Manchester and has turned his life around, and he's a great runner now. You know, and he started all these communities, open gyms, and I think it's more about that really.
Yeah,
it's
called
really
the
cool Prison Trust Reform. I think that's the name of the charity. But it was all very real. It was like going and, you know, like seeing Prison Break in real life, to be honest, you know, with the courtyards. But yeah, it was cool.
I suppose why not? If you think about the role that running and like exercise in general plays in mental health, and how much of a positive impact it can have on people, then I guess why not?
Yeah, I think that's really cool. You must be quite proud of being a part of that, actually.
It felt very surreal when I was there, but that's exactly the sort of event I'm looking for. So rather than going out to Barkley this year, which is great, to be honest with you, I'd rather have done the prison because it's different and no one else has done it. And then, you know, you just get not like more appreciation, but people will take notice of your work a bit more, and then you can carry on doing this for years. Do you see what I mean? You just want to kind of just keep shifting the goalposts, doing different things and bettering yourself, working in different environments and, you know, not being complacent.
In your own journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and to be honest with you, I've heard whispers of criticism and stuff in the past. I just ignore it all. I just literally do my thing. And I'm in a happy place doing that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I was going to ask you about some of the unexpected challenges when you're out photographing for hours, but I sort of feel like if I ask you that question now, that could also interfere with like truth and lie. So we could always come back to that, but we're going to do truth and lie. So we've checked. You've got some statements. You don't need to reveal whether they're true, whether they're a lie. If you just like let us know the statement, and then we'll ask you a few questions around it, and then we'll try and figure out whether the statement that you've given is true, or whether you think it's, or whether it's a lie. So, can we have statement number
You're
one?
going to warn David that we get very competitive. David, we get very competitive.
Okay, right.
Max scores it.
I don't know if these are easy or not, but we'll go for the first one. Ready?
Ready?
Right. So the photo editing in Do Not Block Gate was a vigorous and time-consuming process.
Well,
that's quite a statement. It was how many hours did it take you to do?
So, right, the photo editing in Do Not Block Gate was a vigorous and time-consuming process, and I don't want to give anything else away.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So I've got an issue with this because my take on this, an issue with it being true.
Okay.
Oh no, with it being false. Apologies. Would be like, I don't know. I find it difficult that it would be not time consuming and rigorous because like it's obviously a really great popular book. So either you just nailed all the shots which are in there and hardly had to do any editing, which means like you're a genius because like that's just the best way to save time, or it was time consuming and rigorous.
I've locked in.
No, I feel like this is simpler than you make it. I think because of what he said, it's some sort of a conundrum. I'm trying to work out in the sentence where the trip hazard is.
I'm gonna go with I think it was time consuming and rigorous because if you're a photographer, you're probably going to be quite particular about how you want things to be in terms of like cropping, maybe touching things up, like all those technical things which I don't know anything about. So I'm going. It was.
Well,
are we doing it now?
Yes.
I'm going false.
Oh no, it's 1-1. Well, I was gonna go true, and then because you got the black and white camera that you'd been working on and got some good shots and practice in the tunnel before going out, I was thinking it's false. So now I'm a bit of a quandary about what to do. So I'm going to go. I think you're trying to lull us into it being true, but I'm also going to go false. But false. Okay, first one's false.
Do you want me to tell you? Or afterwards?
Afterwards. Right, number 2.
Right,
Okay.
number 2, I'm a full-time photographer.
Oh, God.
These are the hardest we've ever had. And they're so simple.
Can we ask you some questions this time?
I think it gives it away more, doesn't it? Like what I'm up to.
Yeah. Have you got another job?
Yeah, what's the job?
Yes, all right. The answer's false.
I quite like the fact that you're sort of controlling the narrative on
Yeah.
this. We don't normally have this. This is quite good.
I think I'm being competitive this side as well.
Yeah, you are.
Well, we are obviously good friends with somebody who is a photographer, and he does it full time.
Yeah.
And through what he says, there aren't many people who are able to be photographers full time and earn a wage which enables them to get by. So then the question is, do you photograph outside of ultra running? Oh, I don't know.
Well,
I reckon you've got a few things going on. I reckon you've got a few little side hustles. I'm going false. I don't think you do.
I'm gonna spread my bet and go false again.
Okay, I'm gonna say because of all your different projects and all the different adventures that you take on and the research that you do, and photographer includes being with your book, right? That includes the whole photographer world. I'm saying true.
Okay.
I feel like we're going to get found out for not knowing anything about our guest. I bet they're all on his Instagram. The answers to all these questions.
He's still giving nothing away. Right, last one.
Third one.
Yeah.
This is going to be running related. So I'm a sub 18 5k park runner.
Great one. That's a great one.
We had a conversation earlier on where he said he wanted to go sub 40. Was that before we started? Was that before you went
I'm
live?
locking in straight away, and I'm going to
So-
go first.
If you're sub 40, then sub 18's going to be achievable. So I'm going true.
True.
Rob?
Yeah, I'll go true.
We're
on that
all
one.
going true. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we
Okay.
have the answer to the first statement, please?
Yeah, so the photo editing and do not block gate was a vigorous and time-consuming process. That was false.
Oh gosh, it was such a dangerous one to call false.
I just
on.
wanna know why. That's all.
So every photo in that book, bar one, is not edited at all, not cropped.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it out loud. That was all.
I did.
Yeah.
I was borderline.
Going in.
I was borderline making
One
a
photo we had to
Oh.
blur the map because Laz would have sent a hitman my way, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the photos were straight off the camera to add to the effect, you know, to give like a raw, unfiltered journey into Frozen Head.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
That's all. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
But obviously, a lot of the time in that would have been, the huge build up, the travel, the expense, everything else, the years of experience.
And the great thing is that
Yeah.
I got it right.
Have I got myself out of a hole there by adding?
Don't get me wrong, the putting the book together for the publishers, that was hard work. Although they did put them in chronicle order, as in where they were taken, you know, so from start to finish. But yeah, the actual selecting the photos and zero editing, that was easy. My side, the hard work, my side was at Frozen Head.
Okay, cool. Number 2, please.
So I'm a full-time photographer. That's false. Yeah. So I'm actually a gas engineer. And
Well, hey.
I said earlier on about that cushion as a photographer when I'm out on the races, because, you know, quite often I won't get paid to do this, and I'll go out and do it for the fun of it and the love of the sport. And I don't have to be there to capture Jim Walmsley at the finish. I can come back and I can come to these checkpoints and capture everyday runners, you know? And
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You find that it takes a lot of the pressure off, which means you're able to enjoy the experience more.
Yeah. So literally, I won't be relying, you know, because, you know, sometimes I'd make money or a director would hire me. But more often than not, I'll go there. I'll go to UTMB again this year, you know, and I'll fund it. And then everything afterwards will, you know, likely pay for it. But I'll go there having a full-time job anyway. And I'll take the holiday. And if what I do is good, great. If not, it doesn't matter.
Work must be understanding for you taking the time off, or is it
Yeah,
a
I'm
holiday that you take?
Yeah, I'm quite sort of selective over it as well. You know, that's why you won't see me at like loads of events. I'm quite sort of picky what I'll go to.
It's a juggle. We were saying that today, weren't we, about the juggle of it all, whether it's
Yeah.
family, kids, work,
Yeah.
running,
Mm-hmm.
for you, photography. Oh well, that's good. That's great to hear, but sad that I got it wrong. And number 3.
So I'm a sub 18 5K runner. That's true. You know, although some of it was downhill during lockdown when we turned into full-time athletes. Yeah, I did a 17:52.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Not anymore.
it takes everything in me to say it, Rob, but well done.
Rob, I don't think you've ever won one of these, and you've got a full house, 100%.
yeah, that's it.
Go and get a lottery
Well
ticket.
done.
I should do. Yeah, I've
I'll
had
send you a
terrible
free
luck
copy of the book.
All right, cool. Is it you?
Is it? Oh yeah. Sorry, we've got more to do. Sorry, I'm having such a good time doing that. I'm reveling in my win. I'm off. I'll see you later. So yeah, you see people at their absolute limits. So does witnessing these moments change how you deal with your own pain in races?
Yeah, I definitely get inspired. I think if you want to use Istria as an example, the race I did a few weeks ago, quite often I was thinking of the experienced runners. You know, I obviously know you, Sarah, like yourselves, and I see you guys at mile 40 running really, really well, and I'm thinking, you know, I need to tap into this energy. I need to do this. I see some of the best runners in the world. You know, I want a piece of that. and very much, I'm just easily inspired, definitely.
So what is one thing runners might not realize about the work photographers put in at these events? So we will run and just I'll turn on a smile and go hi, but what is the one thing that you need to remind me that you're on your side of the fences and what goes on?
Yeah, it's just very tiring. It's obviously a very, very rewarding process. I think what's really rewarding is seeing the runners happy afterwards, that you might have given them like a beautiful image, or similar to yourself, Sarah. When I seen you like on the bridge, I took something like pretty good, and it's great to see you're happy with that.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people might not know is just we travel to the events too. There's a lot of driving, there's a lot of hyper focusing, there's a lot of thinking about what we're doing, there's a lot of thinking about the locations we're going to, eating and drinking, because we don't do a lot of that, and then the driving home, and then the editing process. And it's in my opinion, sometimes I think it's like running an ultra itself, but if we didn't love it, we wouldn't do it. But I love the sport, and I'll carry on doing it for as long as I enjoy it, for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. So is there any photography or running gear that you swear by? Now, I know people that have got really decent cameras. I'm not one of those, but possibly for the listeners, because a lot of people who run ultras also like to capture pictures of where they're hiking, where they're running, or pictures of friends. So is there anything that you swear by which is either maybe not affordable for like an average photographer, or maybe is something that people could get their hands on?
Yeah, you can get some really nice stuff with iPhones, to be honest with you. But even when I started out, when I had this Canon EOS 90D, again, it's very sort of intermediate level. But I only ever shot with like a fixed lens, like one lens. Quite often you'll see photographers in many fields, whether it's running, football, they'll open their bag and there'll be 5 lenses worth thousands of pounds. But again, when I started, I couldn't afford that. I couldn't do that. So I shot with one camera and one lens and relied on my instinct and my own abilities in composition to be able to deliver. And it wasn't until the photography awards where I could make that necessary upgrade to do the book. And it paid off on that front. I followed my gut and my vision to go and get a Leica Q2 monochrome. And I'll be honest, it is a £5,000 camera, but it delivers. But before that, I had a £1,000 camera and lens, and they're very, very different.
Yeah.
Have you always loved photography? Has that always been an interest? Now that I know that you're a gas engineer as well.
When iPhones first come out, I used to play around with that, but I never realised I was a photographer. Sometimes I feel like now I'm not sure if I am or not. I feel like I'm just constantly winging it, to be honest with you. Honestly, I'm very inspired by other photographers, and I'm openly not technically the best. Technically, I don't really know a lot, and I do wing it, but I heavily rely on my eye and composition and what I see, and hopefully people dig that, and I'll carry on going down that road.
Absolutely do. So what advice would you give to a new ultra runner who wants to capture their own journey through photos?
Yeah, it's just to be true to themselves, really, and don't miss out the bad parts. I think it's quite easy on Instagram and stuff to put out the Hollywood parts and the good things. But put in everything. And I think
I'm going to write that down. Don't miss out the bad parts. It's so true.
Yeah, and don't you find that? So if you guys are running ultra and someone's giving you a load of pictures, the minute someone gives you a picture where you're not looking your best and you've got your head in your arms, that's the picture you can feel. Not the one of you running out in the Surrey Hills where everything looks great. You can feel the one when you're at your lowest, and I think that's what makes us who we are.
No, you're right, but I am awful because as soon as I clock a camera, I'm just like, I just suddenly go, hey. But so when they do capture me, perhaps making it seem what it actually is, then
but that's part of you though, Sarah, and that's all great. Those images are fine. If you want them, but I'm hoping I would be the guy under a table at a checkpoint to capture when you don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, because there are certainly those parts aplenty.
I think with you though, like don't do yourself a disservice on that, Sarah, because I think Sarah is like one of these people that sees a camera and's like, hi, big smiles and waves, and she's getting like a reputation for being like a super smiley runner. But I think that's also because there are going to be stretches where she doesn't see other people, and then actually she sees somebody with a camera, and it's that human interaction which then brings out that like positivity.
Yeah, Rob's just shared a photograph because we ran in the mornings, and he just showed a picture of me not looking so happy this morning.
I spend a lot of time trying to photograph Sarah looking terrible.
Yeah, he did this.
My thing is to look as bad as possible in most photos.
I don't think I could photograph you looking terrible. I think your charisma stands for itself, Sarah.
I think he's talking to Sarah. Yeah, me, easy.
you can't buy it. But I know, a lot of my images might be known for being gritty, and obviously Jasmin bent over at the gate or being spent. But, for as much as that, I love capturing the happy side to the sport. But yeah, sometimes I fear I'm being more known for the hard side of the sport, I don't mind if people want that, that's fine. But I think like your Courtney DeWalters and yourselves of the world who are full of charisma and smile, I think that's wonderful too.
Yeah. So what are your future plans for the remainder of 2025 with either your running or your photography?
Yeah, so running, I'll go for a 10K, like PB. I've signed up for the ARC in January, as I said earlier. I'm hoping to get a bib for the OCC at UTMB this year.
Oh, wow.
I'm hoping.
When do you find that out?
I might be able to get one as media. They give selected bibs out. Whether they do or not, I don't know. But I'll still have to exchange my stones.
Okay.
I've still got some like stones to do that.
Yeah.
But as a photographer, Western States and Badwater, they're on my list.
Yeah.
Are you going to Badwater this year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Amazing.
Yeah, I think they're within 2 weeks. Well, less than that, like eight days within each other. So yeah, in one hit.
And are you going out for the week, are you, or the 10 days?
2 weeks, yeah, from Western States to Badwater, and they're two events I've always wanted to cover. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so your first time out there doing those two events?
Yeah, first time.
Oh, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah. It's just different, isn't it? And I'll be able to grow as a photographer out there for sure.
And
have you been given any? I know absolutely nothing about cameras and photography. I mean, does the heat play any sort of issue with your equipment over there? Have you sort of taken any steps to sort of train with that?
Not Western States. That will be okay. But yeah, Badwater, it can get up to 50 degrees in Death Valley. So yeah, I'm obviously going to have to protect the camera gear, like in an aircon vehicle, and just get the correct, the correct cases, just so the heat can't damage. But yeah, it's something I'll look into sort of closer to the time for sure.
Yeah.
And have you started planning where to go and where to be? And have you got friends that are giving you tips, or how's it all looking?
It's pretty much going to be from now onwards. I'll be sorting logistics, but I wanted to go to Croatia and run that 42K, put everything into that, and have a little break, and then come home and sort of get the drawing board out really, and just see what's going to happen and where.
When you see Laura Watts on Badwater, can you give her a high five from us, please?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've heard of Laura Watts.
Yeah, she's like local to us, so we had her on as a guest a couple of months ago, and then she ran the South Downs Way 50 a few weeks ago. So she's pretty much like, well, she's almost like the queen of Badwater in terms of UK
third
runners.
one. It's her third one this year.
Wow.
No, it's more than that.
4. I'm pretty sure it's 4 this year.
I might be in a WhatsApp group with her and David Bone and that. Do you know him?
No.
He won the ton. Yeah, I mean he's going out Badwater as well. But yeah, they've got this big UK WhatsApp group I've been added in. Yeah,
she'll definitely
might be in there.
Yeah,
she's probably the group admin.
Probably. Yeah,
she just run Boston and London, dressed as Wonder Woman. So if you see anyone in the middle of the desert dressed as Wonder Woman, then
that's
there
her.
she is.
I'll give her a high five.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's epic. And most people never get to go to Western States, and what an experience to be able to go there with a camera and just like soak it all up, because I think like we've spoken to like 15 people now where we've asked them what their dream race would be, and over 50% of people have said Western States. So it's obviously just like the
Yeah.
pinnacle above
Yeah.
and beyond anything else.
Yeah.
So we got to finish off. We've got a quick fire round.
Yeah.
So yeah, just really, really short answers. They don't need any sort of explanation. I'm going to kick things off, and these can be as either a runner or photographer. Yeah. So what's your favourite trail in the UK?
Southwest Coast Path,
Dream race to run.
Western States,
Dream race to shoot.
Western States.
All-time favourite piece of kit as a runner and a photographer?
Nike Vaporfly running shoes, love them, and as a photographer, a Leica Q2 camera.
We'll be googling that later. One photo you still wish you'd taken. It's a tough question.
Yeah, that is a tough question.
Oh no, there is actually. Yeah, during UTMB 2022, I went to Lac Combau, and at night time, I seen that wonderful diagonal, like head torch shape coming down the hill.
Yeah.
Like 200 runners.
Yeah.
My camera couldn't take that photo because it was too dark. Although now I could with a Leica, I couldn't do it at the time. So I experienced something there which I couldn't share with you guys. And
that's so annoying because we've seen that at UTS, and obviously I only had an iPhone, but I couldn't tell everyone like how amazing that was.
You know the ones I mean where you got the light drag sort of
Yeah.
One of them.
I feel like the last question we've probably covered, to be honest, with a bucket list, running and photography is going to be bucket list for running photography is going to be Western States, isn't it? Maybe it's not. If it's not Western States, is there anything bucket list related, running or photography?
Comrades.
Sorry, Rob, I totally stole your question.
No, that's fine. I got another question actually, relating back to Barclays. Are the public allowed anywhere near the gate when the race is on? Because you never see anyone just hovering around, but presumably it's very hard to keep people out.
As high as the campsite.
Yeah.
But do you guys know the reason that they don't have spectators and that? It's literally because it's like a protected area, and Frozen Head in general is a really important area for like ecology. And basically all of a sudden, if 5,000 spectators turn up and spectate the Barkley, the race is off. Like, that's the reason they keep it a secret. It's just so the race can still go ahead.
And do they get many people trying to get up there, or is the park itself just so high security that no one could get near it?
There's no security as such. I just think there's a bit of a code where, if you're not part of the crew or the runners or whatever, you shouldn't really be in that campsite because it's Laz's party. But there's nothing to stop you going up Ratjaw or something. But I just think it's one of those. I think it would just sort of be frowned upon,
Yeah.
So don't go.
Yeah. Yeah, go.
And then last question: how did you get into Barclays?
Yeah. Do you know what? I know half of it, but not the other half. That's the God's honest truth. I tried to get it out of Damien, but he wouldn't tell me. So yeah.
There you go. If you tell Sarah half, we'll speak to Damien and she can get the other half. Yeah.
We'll convert.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, that brings our chat to a close, David. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been really, really interesting.
Have the best time in Western States in Badwater, you lucky thing. Enjoy it. Can't wait to see the photos.
Really jealous about that.
Thank you very much. That was a really, really quick hour as well. That went by so quickly.
Yeah, it really did.
It did, yeah.
And we should congratulate Rob on 3 out of 3.
Well, on the show. I just guessed, all right? That's my secret.
They were very good ones, David.
They were good. They were the hardest we've had so far, I think.
Yeah, we'll take some beating next week, yeah?
Yeah, it's true. We'll give you feedback.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, David.
See you
Great,
soon.
thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.